Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Hilary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness in the human spirit and creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, and today we have a very special guest. We have Lee Smith. She's a speaker, an author, and a mindset and self-talk strategist. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you so much, Hilary. Wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So let's see. I know we met through Jenny, through the Speakers Playhouse, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So she's sent me lots of wonderful guests. So thank you to Jenny. All right. So where would you like to start? Let's go back. Where were you born? I always like to start at the beginning. Where were you born, Lee?
Oh gosh. Wow. I was born in New Iberia, Louisiana, the original home of the Tabasco sauce. And that's one of my favorite hot sauces. So it works perfectly.
Now, is that a certain brand? Or is that
Tabasco? Yes.
Is Tabasco the actual brand?
That's the actual brand. Yes.
Oh, so it's like tissues, you know what I mean? Or Kleenex.
Oh, Kleenex.
You know what I mean?
Kleenex. Kleenex is the brand. That we also call tissues Kleenex. Yeah, pass me a Kleenex, right? Yes. When you say hot sauce, pass me the Tabasco. Yep, Tabasco is the brand.
Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Didn't know that. All right, good. So, all right, so you grew up there, and is that near New Orleans or no?
I think I think it's toward the coast. I actually didn't grow up there. I was only there maybe the first 6 to 9 months of my life, and then I moved to North Carolina.
You
Oh gosh,
remember?
no.
I'm just kidding.
And then I moved to North Carolina, and we jumped around in North Carolina, where we started in the mountains in Asheville, and then into Winston-Salem, and then into the greater Raleigh area. And that's where I went to school and went to college. And then I transplanted up to Reno, Nevada, where I'm tuning into you now.
Oh, now was your father in a job that kept moving you? Is that why?
I think my parents, although my dad served in the Army and in the Army National Guard, so in a sense I was a military brat, but we didn't move so much because of the military. It had a lot more to do with my parents finding opportunities within their range, their budgets and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. But so you moved with them to Reno, or that was when you flew the coop?
No, I flew the coop. My dad actually, at the time, he was he was doing civil service for the Navy, and he was stationed outside of Reno. But he was already gone from Reno by the time I moved out here. I needed a change from all the lovely trees in the southeast, and I just needed to get out. I was feeling suffocated. I had it all started with a car accident, actually. I had done a wild and crazy trip with a boyfriend, stayed up all night, and on the way home, fell asleep at the wheel. And thankfully, we're both alive and fully recovered. And but to make up for that lost time, because I had to withdraw from college, and then to make up for that time, I was loading up all of my credits, going through full summer school sessions. I was working 3 jobs just to make rent and my tuition, and barely put food on the table. And I reached a burnout point. And
Where were you?
My parents, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was at NC State
Okay.
University at the time, and my parents had separated. My dad had then been moved to California with his job. My mom had moved back to North Carolina because we have extended family there, and in that burnout, I had called up my dad and I said, "Dad, I just need to get out of here. I need a break. I really want to go back to Europe, but that takes a lot of money. I am not calling you for money. I get it. That's not the kind of daughter I am. I'm just saying, I just need a break." And my dad said, "I have connections in Reno. I could probably make something happen there." And without knowing a thing about Reno, I said, "Make it happen." It wasn't let me think about it.
Wow.
Hey, I'll get back to you. It was like, oh, really? Make it happen. And then I came out here for 2 months. It was essentially from Memorial Day to July 4th weekends. And this openness that's out here in this desert here, where you can just see forever. I'm like, I can't get lost. I just go, oh, I want to go over there. And I just start driving in that direction of where I want to go. And then when I moved back after that 2 months and I went back to North Carolina, I started feeling a nudge, and it said, "You need to go out west." And I thought,
Wow.
"What? What? What do you mean go out west?" It says, "You need to go." And I said, "That doesn't make any sense. I've lived here for 20-ish years. My whole family, my friends, my entire foundation is here in Raleigh. In Reno, I'm by myself. I have no family there. That was just a break. I don't need to go there." And that nudge kept saying go. And Hillary, I prayed for 2 months. It was 2 solid months. And I said, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And kept asking all these questions. And finally I heard that nudge say, "Go and don't ask me again." And I said, "Okay."
That is
And
funny. Don't ask
being
me.
familiar being familiar with the many people in the Bible who question God, and that didn't end up in such great consequences. I thought, okay, okay. So I packed up all my belongings, and I moved out west. It turned out to be a good thing because 5 years later I met my husband,
Oh, all right.
and
One sec.
life
One
has
sec.
been a
One,
wild ride since.
all right. One sec. I need to go back and find out. So, when you had the accident, how much time did
Yeah.
you lose from the accident?
Yeah, so I spent 11 days in the hospital
Okay.
healing up,
Okay.
and I had to withdraw from the semester.
Okay. So one semester.
And yeah, one semester.
And then did you finish before you went to Reno? Or
I
no?
did not.
You
No, I was
haven't?
one
Okay.
I was 1 year short of graduation.
Okay. But you went anyway. Good. And did you ever finish the year or no?
I did not. I had thought
Okay.
about
I'm
it.
not
I looked
judging.
at the
I'm just
Yeah, no,
wanting
and
to
I
know.
I looked I looked at the programs here, and I didn't see one locally at the university here in Reno, where I could do that, and distance learning wasn't a thing yet,
Yeah. Okay.
and, so I said, "Oh, okay, uh, where
So all right.
what am I doing next?"
So what year was that? What that you
That
went?
was 1993,
Oh,
93.
that was a long time ago. Okay. So 1993. So you
Yeah,
go out, go and don't ask me again. Okay. You go out.
yep.
Did you find work? How old were you then? Like
I was 22. I was
22. Okay.
22.
So what did
Yeah.
you do? How did
Yeah.
you get, but your father wasn't there anymore, right? But
Nope. Nobody was here, and, I found a roommate to move in with, and I started looking at jobs and I questioned everything because I was homesick. I was away from my best friend, and then trying to figure things out. The other interesting thing that happened, that I think played a part in this too was, when I was healing up from my injuries, I moved back in with my mom temporarily. And because all I could do was sit on the couch and basically watch TV, and do my physical therapy, I was a night owl and I stayed up late and I watched the infomercials. So between Dean Graziosi's real estate offers, I also discovered Tony Robbins in his personal power, and
Oh.
I bought the personal power tapes, went through it, loved it, and for me, what I loved was, who is this guy? What is he doing? And how do I get to do what he is doing? And while I didn't maintain that focus per se, but that has always been running in the back of my mind. How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? And between then and now, it's like, oh, I am making those things happen, and that's very, very exciting. But yeah, I
What
got
were
introduced to Amway.
Oh, I did. Anyway, wait. What were your injuries? I'm just curious, and then we'll get back to
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, sure. So falling asleep at the wheel, I hit the bridge abutment, and so my face hit as the windshield was collapsing in. It cut right across my eye without actually cutting through the eyelid. So my eye was not injured.
Oh,
I broke my jaw here, and I lost 3 teeth up here. And then I had a permanent retainer on the bottom, and that broke off, and the one tooth went actually through the bot just underneath my bottom lip. So that was my face part, and then because I was driving, the impact of the car, pushed the, steering column into my kneecap, which also pushed my femur through my hip. So it dislocated and fractured my hip. Now, while the steering column went into my knee, it only broke the kneecap. It did not damage any tendons or muscles. So to not have a cut go completely through my
yeah.
eye,
Wow.
to not have the muscles or tendons, that's that was providence.
Wow.
That was providence. Um,
And what was about your
really, really,
your
my
boyfriend?
yeah, my friend, because he was in the passenger seat, and so with the seatbelt, he was coming forward as the car was also pushing back on him. So he smashed his face, and so we had to have plates put in his face.
Ugh.
He's still handsome. He's still very, very he's not my
Oh,
boyfriend now, he's a longtime friend, but
yeah.
he's still very, very handsome man. He broke his right arm, and then he broke, I believe was his right leg right above the ankle. And my biggest concern was that his pursuit was, to become a helicopter pilot. He was in the Army National Guard, and I was afraid I had messed up all of that. It was just a little delayed. He's a career care flight pilot in North Carolina, so he's thriving doing the things that he wants to do.
Oh, wow.
So it all ended up well. And
So you were on a bridge. You could have
no, 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 I was not on a bridge. I hit the pole that supports the bridge.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could
Yeah.
have easily been a lot worse, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely, because this was way before airbags.
mm,
And even though I had fallen asleep when the car went off the road and it was doing the rumble, and I woke up for a moment. The really interesting thing, Hilary, is my guardian angels were looking out for me because there was a voice right here in my ear. It was a gentleman's voice, and not anyone I was familiar with. It was a voice that said, "No, not yet. Go back to sleep." I
what?
will never forget that. There was a voice that said,
No, not
"No,
yet. While you
not
were
yet.
driving?
Go back to sleep." Yes. And so I just said, "Okay," and I went back to sleep. I had no full conscious awareness of what was happening. I just listened to that voice, went back to sleep, and that's when the impact happened. And when I went back, after we healed up, we actually went back to the site of the injury and seeing where I went off the road, and it was probably maybe less than 100 feet from where I went off the road, and I was going 65 miles an hour according to the police report, because there was a highway trooper who was driving in the opposite direction. He saw the whole thing happen in his rearview mirror.
Oh my God.
And so if if I had woken up, there would not have been enough time to do anything. Like if I had turned, I could have been flipping the car and that, could have killed us. Or I would have braced for impacts, knowing I didn't have enough time to
Yeah.
control anything that could have killed me and or us instantly. But because my angel was there and said, no, not yet, go back to sleep, I was relaxed and those were my injuries. So,
How did you
it's one of my many miracle stories.
So how were you going 65 if you were asleep? Or you think your foot was still pressing the gas? Or maybe you had
I think
slowed
my foot was
down?
still pressing the gas. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Don't keep driving if you're tired. I knew
Yeah.
I knew I was pushing the limit and, but I was also within city limits in close to our homes. So I was close to dropping him off and, I was thinking I was okay. But, when you're in your 20s, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was. But, it was a miracle, and
Yeah.
we both got through it, and it's part of the story that I get to share now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wait, what was the voice saying again? Not
No, not yet. Go back to sleep.
wow. Go back to sleep. I can't believe you remember that. That's amazing. Well, obviously it made an impact, right? So woo.
Yeah. I mean, how can you forget when it saved your life, right?
Yeah,
I'm still here. I'm still here. God's
right.
not done with me yet.
Right. Okay. All right. So you're watching information. Okay. So you moved out, you trusted the voice.
Yep,
Go and don't
I
ask me
did.
again. Go out. You're questioning everything. Oh, what was with Amway? That's what you were starting to say.
Oh, yes, yes. So, through the circle of friends that I made here, I got introduced to Amway, and the real blessing out of that was the personal development because it was
Mm,
more of people and books, like Tony Robbins, and I thought, oh gosh, from Og Mandino, Norman Vincent Peale, Napoleon Hill, all of those amazing leaders, and to Jack Canfield, and then it just
Robert
it just lit
Kiyosaki.
up my passion. Yes, yes, and it just
I
lit
did
up
that
my
too. I read all
passion.
those books. Did you listen to
Yes.
the tapes too?
Yes, I did. I
I
did
love
the books
those.
and the tapes,
I
right?
love those.
Yeah, they were fantastic. They instilled in me that you can keep going, that stick to itiveness.
Mhm.
There is no quit in me, and it, it really laid the foundation, for all the things. And seeing people speaking on the stages, and I thought, okay, well, I just got to succeed in business, and then I'll be speaking on those stages. I've always been pursuing, how can I speak? How can I speak? That's what I absolutely love doing. I know that sounds weird. Most
No, that
people
was
would
mine too.
statistically would rather face death than an audience. And it's like, no, give me an audience. I want to play.
Yeah, no, that was you know what, when we did Amway, that was my dream was to get to a high enough level that we got to speak, and we did. We got to go
Yes.
to
Yes.
Arizona, California, Bermuda.
Oh,
I loved
fantastic.
that part, telling your story.
Yeah.
Did you ever
Yes.
get to speak with Amway?
I didn't, I had one moment where I did attain, that speaking opportunity, but I didn't do so great with the business, and then it was in a few years when I went and met my husband, who was very anti
Oh,
Amway, and I said, "Okay," I'm like, "Well, it's not quite really working the way that I want it to, so yeah, you kinda take priority over Amway now."
and where did you meet him? Where'd you meet him?
Oh gosh, I met him here. That's a funny story because I was actually dating his best friend at the time,
Oh,
and uh, there were three guys. So my then boyfriend introduced me to the two friends that he hung out with quite regularly, and my husband and I, we hit it off as friends, and there was not any attraction, or romantic interest at all. We just hit it off on a very deep level, friendship wise. And he even said to me, "You're dating my best friend." And I said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, then if you hurt my best friend, I'm going to hurt you." I said, "Okay, well, back up for a moment because I really don't want to be dating your best friend right now. He's just been so forceful about it. He's a great guy, but I know he's not my person. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to pull myself back together here. And, and, and I told his friend that I said, look, this, you're going to end up getting hurt. Not that I want to intentionally hurt you, but I don't necessarily see this really working out. And he said, I don't care. And I said, okay. So when I met my now husband, I
what do
was
you
like,
mean he didn't care? He didn't care if he got
he,
hurt?
he didn't care if he got hurt. He's like, this is totally worth it. I thought, oh, okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. So that lasted about 4 months.
Okay.
And again, really great guy. He's wonderfully married and two great kids now. I'm happy for him. And I'm like, I am not your person. I'm glad you think, I'm flattered that you think I'm so wonderful, but I am not, I'm not the person. I already know that. So even after the breakup, my now husband and I continued our friendship, and it was about a year later of being friends. We were in San Francisco of all places, and we were hanging out with another one of his friends, and she had a long layover on a trip she was doing. And so after we dropped her off in the airport, uh, we were driving back to Reno. And funny that we already mentioned Amway, because he started an Amway conversation with me, like, why are you so gung-ho about this? And I said, because it's a different model than the 9 to 5 job and working 40 years of your life. This is how you leverage time. This is why. And it's just so smart. And so when you find the right people who get it, I said, it works. And of course he's like, oh, but it's a cult. I'm like, it is not a cult. And we got into this very heated debate the whole 3.5 hours home, back into Reno, and we were back and forth and back and forth, and we raised our voices, but not in an ugly, mean way. We were just very passionate and intense on our sides. And once we got back into Reno, I said, look, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. And there was a big exhale at the end. And we were actually housemates at the time. So we come back into the house where we're living. I go into my room and I sit down on my bed and let out another heavy, that was exhausting. But also an awareness of, I'm not mad at him. And I want him to make sure he knows I'm not mad at him. And at the time I was doing that in my room, he was out in the kitchen listening to the answering machine. Yes, I know I'm dating myself here. The answering machine messages. And I come out and I just put my arms around him and gave him a great big hug. And he said, well, what was that for? And I said, I just want you to know that, yes, that was intense, very intense, but I'm not mad at you. I don't want you to go to bed thinking I'm mad at you. And he said, okay. And then the next day, there was something different in the air, and something tweaked, and we started seeing each other differently. And it was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And much like my conversation with myself about moving across the country, he and I engaged in conversation. It was a very intense 2 weeks of, do we cross this line of friendship? Because you can't go back. There is no turning back. And we talked about it. We prayed about it together. And again, the knowing, or that nudge, was there. This time it said, Hilary, you make it work with him or it doesn't work with anybody. I thought, what?
What?
What? Like, why are you saying it like that?
Yeah.
It's like, either I make life work with him, or
You're
I'm just going to be
threatening me?
alone
Yeah.
the rest of my life. I
Yeah.
thought, okay, interesting. So when he asked me, well, what's your side of things? And I said, well, this is what my inner voice said to me. I said, but I feel something for you. I said, I feel like it really could work. So I'm willing to take that chance. Let's go. And he said, okay. And then it was 4 months later, he proposed. We had like a long a long engagement. And then I'm excited to share, Hilary, that in April 2026, I get to celebrate 25 years with my husband. And
Mm.
it's been a wild ride for sure.
So you were good enough friends that you would go to San Francisco together and all that, and it
Yeah.
never crossed your mind before that to be
No,
romantic
it
or him
it did
either?
not.
Wow.
No, or him either. No.
And then
No,
how
they
did
just did
you
not say what.
yeah, how did you I don't know if you knew that you both felt the same way, because that if only one had felt it or whatever, it could have been awkward, right?
Right, right. No, yeah. It worked out that the both of us felt it at the same time, and we respected our friendship enough that we're like, we don't wanna just jump in, right? We really wanted to talk, and my husband is a thinker. He like me,
Mm,
I'm a gut feeler. If it feels good, I'm running with it, right? If
yeah.
it doesn't feel good, nope, I'm staying away from it. My husband is a thinker, and so he'll come up with all these questions, and, it was almost like an interrogation process. I can't remember, it's too far, in the past now,
Yeah.
to share like what that conversation was exactly. But I can tell you that like it was almost like an interrogation process. "Well, what about this? What about that?" Because he would go into worst case scenarios, or he would deep dive into some of my personality traits that he was familiar with, or, different situations. And part of that too, part of that is who he is, but also because he was married before and he had a
Oh.
son from that marriage.
Oh.
And so his son, was about 3, 4 years old because his son was 5 at the time that we got married.
Oh.
And so, he had a lot of things to take into consideration, which
Yeah.
I did too, coming into an already established family relationship here. And looking at that, in fact, one of the funny questions was, well, you know, do you see yourself having kids? And I said, yes, I do. He said, okay, great. How many? I said, 2. He's like, me too. I already have one. I said, oh, you're right. I got to think about that. How do I feel about that? Wow. Okay. And, and then I was like, I'm just going to have to see where life takes us with that. And then
Mhm.
I said, well, for me, I said, what's non-negotiable for me is that when I do become a mom is I intend on being a stay-at-home mom. And I know that's going to take sacrifice and I'm willing to make whatever sacrifices need to work to make that happen. But I need to know that you're on board with that. Otherwise, we kind of stop here.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what if I want to stay home? With our child. And I said, no, you already shared with me. You got to do that with your son. This is my deal. This is my deal. And yes, we have a daughter together. And uh and I was so miserable that entire 9 months of the pregnancy that I said, yeah, I'm not doing this again. So we have our 2 kids.
Wow.
And it's fantastic. And we have a boy and we have a girl. Like
Mhm.
it has worked out wonderfully, whether we created ourselves or God just with his wonderful sense of humor said, here you go. Here's how it's panning out. It's I, we I'm full of gratitude with that.
Mm.
I'm so, so blessed. Our kids are doing amazing. Our son is married now and thriving in New York. And then our daughter's graduated from college and she's figuring out her next steps with graduate school and what kind of career she wants to establish. And we're very, very blessed. Very blessed.
Oh, that's a nice story. So it worked out that you moved and don't ask me again, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah,
And did
it been amazing.
yeah, so you did stay home from you didn't have to
I
go
did.
back to work. Wow.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I was working at the time, that I met my husband, worked through getting married. And when I got pregnant, oh my gosh, because I felt so miserable, I'm like, can I come home now? Can I come home now? And he said, no, we need every single penny up until, the baby comes. And I was like, okay, okay. And thankfully she did come a week early. And so I was like, thank you.
What were
Even
you
though it was a
doing?
week, I was like, thank you. Oh gosh, at that time, I was working for a large group anesthesiologist office. And I had been with that company for 4 years. So at that specific time, I was an insurance biller, and
Mm.
so processing insurance bills. And that was a crazy work environment. That really made me feel convicted that I am not meant to be an employee. We had an office of 18 women, and
Oh,
it was a very toxic environment. There was I kept my positivity, but I also kept to myself in my cubicle because I'm not a gossiper. I don't try to slack off. I was there when 9/11 happened, and
oof.
uh um and even with the shock of what was happening that day, right? And and in my heart of hearts, my husband was working at his job 20 miles away, and it's like, is this the end of the world? Like, if that's the case, like I don't want to be anywhere but with my husband right now.
Mhm.
And but I was like, but I still have a job to do. I'm getting paid for a job to do. So I had to keep redirecting my focus into the work. So I wasn't one of those persons who'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kick it back and just do the minimum, just enough so I don't get into no, I can't not give less than 100%. It's just
Right.
it's just a
Work
core of who I am.
ethic.
And, but I wanted to get out of that toxic environment, and I
Mm.
thought, "Gosh, if this is the way women are in the world," I'm like, "I don't know if I wanna work with women. It's just crazy." I have learned that's not the entire world, thank goodness. Uh, wow. But yes, but then when my daughter came, yes, I was a stay-at-home mom, and that's certainly a journey in and of itself. Not only with the stay-at-home mom part, but because I was also working with the blended family. My husband was
Right.
working out of town a lot, so many of the times I felt like a single mom. It gave me a whole appreciation. I'm like, these military moms and single moms, how do you do it? I
Right. All right. On that
you know
note, we're gonna take our little commercial break and then we'll come back and see how you did it. And
Yeah.
make sure you come back because you need to find out what Lee is doing now. We'll be right back.
What if school could be a place where every child feels safe to be themselves? Right now, kids are growing up in a complicated world. They're learning how to listen, how to care, and how to find their voice. Kokori's daily digital calendar of research-backed lessons helps children build confidence, empathy, and resilience through joyful play-based learning. When children feel connected and supported, they don't just learn more, they grow into kinder, braver humans. Kokori, helping kids grow together.
Hey, it's Hilary from the Getting Real with Hilary show. Life can be messy, raw, and real. And sometimes we're afraid to feel vulnerable. We're afraid to be that real self. Well, that's exactly what the Getting Real with Hilary show and Getting Real movement is all about. Being our true selves. Every week, I bring you stories of transformation, authenticity, and hope. People getting real with their struggles, their faith, and their breakthroughs. So don't miss a thing. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter today. You'll get stories, links to everything new, and how to create a life you love every week directly to your inbox. You can also find my books on Amazon. My courageous and riveting memoir, The Second Piece of French Toast, in case you feel stuck in your life and want to get inspired. How I came out about my no sex life in my marriage, and my second book, Real Talk. That one will get you speaking up in ways you've been too afraid to do so, and really creating amazing freedom. And my third book, How to Stop Fixing Yourself and Start Having Fun, the name is called Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. Find links to everything and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Getting Real with Hilary, and you'll find the links in the header. So, visit. And you can also visit gettingrealwithhilary.com because the real you is worth it and wants to come out. What if spiritual transformation didn't have to feel confusing or out of reach? When I met Dr. Kay Narayan, a spiritual teacher and healer, what struck me most wasn't just his presence. It was how simple he made something that can feel so complex. In his book, Spiritual Transformation, 12 Steps to Freedom, Joy, and Your Highest Life, he breaks it down into a clear, step-by-step process. So you're not just inspired, you actually know what to do. This isn't about rare experiences or abstract ideas. It's practical, it's logical, and it's written in a way that just makes sense. And what I experienced myself was a feeling of lightness, of ease, of finally understanding. If you've been searching for something deeper, but want it to feel real and accessible, this is for you. You can get a free copy of his book right now. Just cover shipping and handling. The link is below, because the life you're looking for might be simpler than you think. All right, we are back. So let's get into, I know you have a whole single mother thing and all that, but we want to make sure we get to what you're doing and, your book and people joining you on, I know it's like flash forward. I always like to go back and see how people met and all that stuff, but we don't want to miss out on why you came here in the first place. So why don't you start telling us how that evolved and then how people can find you and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, Hilary. Thank you so much. And really this flows all right into it because I mentioned, came into a blended family. I'm playing the single mom most of the time and I'm fulfilling my conviction and dream of being a stay-at-home mom. But I also got lost in the day in and day out, right? There is a mundaneness to being a stay-at-home mom. You've got the endless dishes, the endless laundry, the endless cleaning the house, the prepping the meals, all of that. And then taking care of whatever urgency is happening in that moment. And 15 years of that, it caught up to me. And I was not aware of it consciously until one moment. I was on a holiday with my family. My stepson was grown and out of the house at the time, but he was on the vacation with us with his girlfriend, and we had this amazing 23 days in Hawaii across 4 islands.
Whoa.
The 23 days meant 22 sunsets. And if you have not experienced a Hawaiian sunset, I urge you strongly, make it happen. It doesn't matter which island. They are phenomenal, but make it happen. So it was one of these particular sunsets. I'm standing on the lava shore. My husband is ahead of me with his camera because he's passionate about photography. He's got the lens growing out of his face like the nose of Pinocchio, trying to get the light just right. My young teenage daughter was cradled in my arms, and then off to the other side of me was my stepson and his girlfriend having their little moment. We're looking at this golden orb that's casting pinks and purples across the sky, and it's setting on that sapphire blue horizon. And I'm looking out and I'm seeing all the things. I'm aware I'm with my family. I'm thinking, I'm seeing this. I'm feeling the breeze caress my face. And I'm thinking, who gets to do this? 23 days in Hawaii. Who not I'm having an experience that not everybody gets even once in a lifetime on one island. And I found myself thinking and thinking and thinking. And then there was this thought of, wait, where's the feeling? Why am I not feeling this moment? I'm standing in this glorious paradise surrounded by people that I love during a Christmas holiday. So it's a whole family thing. Where's the feeling? And it was in that moment, Hilary, that I was like, who am I right now? And I like to explain it that I call it, I was covered in dust. And yes, that's dust with a J, where I was just a mom. I was just a wife. I was just a stay-at-home mom. I was just a stepmom. I was just a daughter. I was just a sister. I was just this empty shell of a woman standing on this shore, not knowing who is Lee Smith. And I said, well, that's not cool. That's not good. This is not working. I need to know who I am. And I've had this internal conversation with myself. And I said, you know what? This is not working. I'm going to draw a line in the proverbial sand. There's a new year just a few days away, right around the corner. I don't care how selfish it seems to anybody else. I have given myself to so many people that wasn't giving to myself. And I said, you know what? I'm going on a quest in the new year when we get home, and I'm going to figure out who I am. And another thought popped up, and it might have been that voice nudging me again, said, you know, why don't you pick a word to anchor yourself? And I had heard of friends who would pick a word for the year, to keep the inspiration and the motivation. And I thought, oh, what word do I pick? And the word that came to mind was laugh.
Oh.
I thought, oh, that's a good one, because I don't remember when was the last time I laughed. Okay, I like that. So when I got home from that Hawaii trip, admittedly, I was like, oh, I've been dealing with a depression. And upon self-reflection, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for over 2 years. I'm like, wow, okay, how did I hide this even from myself? Because I'm really good at smiling. I'm really good at smiling.
Pretending.
So I was hiding it even from myself that I was depressed. And so using the word laugh, I would drag myself out of bed initially to the corner of the couch in our living room, and I would watch reruns of Friends because it's my favorite sitcom, makes me laugh all the time. And then divine providence stepped in once again. There was a comedy troupe that just the first 3 months of that year, they were putting on an improv show every weekend. So almost every weekend I was down front and center getting my laugh on with them. And then locally, I was doing some networking because I had some business ideas that I wanted to play with. And so I was doing some networking, and I knew the people who had an amazing sense of humor. And I thought, if I can just get in front of them, get around them, maybe some of that would rub off of me. And about 3 months of doing that, Hilary, I found my joy.
Wow.
And it came out like a warm feeling, and it moved up towards my ear, and it whispered, now that I'm here, what do you want to do with me? And I thought, oh, that's my joy. Okay. And right after that question came this little skipping sound and this little girl's laughter. And I thought, who is that? And it's my 8-year-old inner self, my 8-year-old inner child, because I was 8 years old when I had my first public speaking and fell in love with it. Where most people might get stage fright or all the nerves, for me, it was exhilarating. And so she came through right after that question and she said, remember public speaking? Remember how we love that feeling? Let's go chasing that.
Wait, what did you speak about at 8 years old?
At 8 years old, it's not what I spoke about. It was that I was really, really good at reading aloud.
Oh.
And
okay.
so because I grew up Catholic, my CCD teacher said, you are such an amazing reader. Would you read the scriptures at a mass?
Oh.
And I said, yes. So I got up in front of the congregation. It was somewhere between 300 and 500 people, got up there, read the scriptures, and that was all lovely because I'm looking at 300 to 500 people looking at me and smiling back at me. I mean, who wouldn't at an adorable 8-year-old girl, right? But that was okay. That was okay. But it was when I walked away from the sanctuary and I had this quiver go through my body, I thought, what is that feeling? And it was that I loved. And so for me, public speaking wasn't about getting up and being the center of attention. I don't seek that out.
So did something happen and you lost it? You know what I mean? Or did you just forget?
I didn't realize that it was the core of what I wanted to do because when I was in high school, I was all about the public speaking. I was speaking at
Oh.
retreats, I was speaking at conventions, I was speaking from, as small as 30
Mhm.
peers to 500 to the end of the school year where we had over 2,000 kids. And I loved it. When I got into college, I was pursuing, I didn't enter college as a communications major. I actually entered as a physics major, but I switched over to communications because I knew I wanted to be a corporate motivational speaker.
Wow.
And then the car accident happened, and then the move happened, and then it was like building my life back up so I could get back to that.
Mhm.
But then I got married and I had my daughter, and so then the focus became all in on the family and being a stay-at-home mom, which
Yeah.
I was happy to do because I was given that conviction at age 14 of, hey, when I become a mom, I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
This is important to me. And I love that. And my relationship with my kids is all super amazing. And I think a lot of it was because of how I poured
Mhm.
into being that stay-at-home mom. And then when that depression hit and the joy came back, it was like, oh, wait a minute, remember who
Oh,
you are. I didn't need to discover, I didn't need to get to know. I
you
needed
just gotta
to
remember.
remember who I am. And I thought, oh yeah, that's right. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. And then I thought, well, yeah, what do I speak about? Sure, I have these great stories, but what's the real message? And this is the fun part, Hilary. And I have a
Mm.
visual to share
Oh,
with
good.
the audience
Okay.
because I said I got stuck in the mundane, right?
Mhm.
I got stuck. I was being what I call a reactor in life. There were times when I thought, oh, life is just happening to me. Why is it not going the way that I want it to? And so when I felt like things weren't going my way, or I kept pouring into the dishes, the laundry, the house cleaning, and I wasn't focused on that speaking, right? And I felt like, yes, I'm trying to become the best mom I can be the best wife I can be the best human I can be, but I was also felt like, I was putting out all these fires. And so while I had goals and dreams and maybe a plan in mind, I was still reacting to whatever's coming my way.
So wait, let
So
me
a
just say,
reactor,
the people who
yeah,
are listening on the audio, she has like the Scrabble letters, reactor,
yes.
REACTOR, on a wooden block. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, yes. And so if you are a listener, I invite you to write out the word reactor and you'll see this play out too. And so a reactor, they're busy pursuing all the things and they are like the letter C in the word reactor where they see themselves stuck in the middle of all the things. They're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're going to bed thinking, do I really get to do this all over again tomorrow? And what I had to do, right? I said, I'm going on a quest to remember who I am. So it's like taking the letter C out of reactor. So I'm taking the Scrabble letter out because I invite you to take a moment to see yourself. Yes, that's a pun on the letter C there. See yourself for who you are, your amazingness, your brilliance. And if you're writing the word out, you can cross out the letter C. And imagine that taking yourself out to see yourself for who you are. And I like to say that you have 3 Gs, that you have genius, you have gifts, and you have greatness. And I liken that to a cell phone number. There are 8 billion people across the planet. 95% of us have a cell phone number, which means 95% of us have a number. We share the digits 0 through 9 in common, and yet no two numbers are exactly alike. Isn't that fascinating? And so it is with your 3 Gs. Your genius and your gifts and your greatness are unique to you, and they make Hilary, Hilary. They make Lee, Lee. They make you, you. And in my online mastermind community, I help you to see those 3 Gs for yourself. And when you take yourself out from the middle and you put yourself first, now for those of you writing it down, write the letter C in front of the rest of the letters. That's where the transformation happens. And now instead of being a reactor, you are a creator. And the C, once you put yourself first, everything falls out into place. You see what is important, what truly matters. This becomes the priority. So instead of being busy, you are productive. productive working on things that actually move the needle, and you create the day, the morning, the week, the year, the life, the business if you are an entrepreneur, even your work environment if you're an employee somewhere,
Can you,
you create that for yourself.
can you give us an example of how you did that in real life, like so that they can hear an example? How did you put your C first and create?
Yes.
I mean,
So
obviously you did, you're here, but can you just give a
right.
little example in a
Yes,
few minutes we have left?
absolutely. One big question in life that we find ourselves reacting to is, what makes you happy? Hilary, if you and I right now were able to get together and stand on a street corner and had a microphone and we asked all the passerbys, what makes you happy? Do you know what we would hear more often than not? Well, it's not this. It's not that. That is people reacting to their lives. And we'd be like, well, thank you for sharing. But the question is, what makes you happy? And then it's out of knowing what makes you happy, creating your life in such a way that you are experiencing that happiness. I was reacting to the day to day of my stay at home mom life in that moment, right? And then it was moving through using the word laugh to anchor myself. It was creating that joy again to then get to the place where I could answer, Lee, what makes you happy? Because that sunset on that beach, I did ask myself that and I came up empty handed. I definitely did not know. But after healing myself in those 3 months, I was like, well, Lee, what does make you happy? Public speaking. Public speaking makes me happy. I'm going to go seek out public speaking. How do I do that? I want to be the next thought leader. How do I do that? And it was listening to Brendan Burchard at the time. And he very much like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield, they will all teach you that we all have choice. We can't control hardly anything in our lives, but we can control the choice we make on how we choose to respond, right? We can either react, it's like whatever happens, happens, or we can take a moment and actually choose the response. How do I want to show up in this moment? When somebody's cutting you off in traffic, are you like slamming on your horn? Are you creating road rage? That's a reaction. Or are you going, okay, I'm not in their situation. I may not fully know what made them cut me off, but I'm not going to take it personally. And I'm going to still keep trying to be the best driver I can be on the road right now so I can get to my place safely. When somebody says something to you that it hurts or it offends or it lands, are you just going to, rage back at them, snap back at them, try to be sassy or anything like that? Or are you going to say, oh, real quick, I didn't like that, but I can still show up as the best version of myself. And then either, choose to not respond, choose to not take it personally, or create that. And then certainly one last quick example, Hilary, when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, there's a quick instant right there. Are you reacting to hit the snooze button? Oh, just 9 more minutes. Or are you like, you're turning it off and you're like, what do I get to do to show up and serve today? I'm so excited that I get to, instead of I have to, I get to show up for Hilary and her audience today and share my story and my message. And just, if I'm changing just one person's life, it's all worth it.
That's great. Well, thank you for that. How do people reach you and what are you offering? I know you said you have a free gift for the audience. Can you tell
Yes.
us about that in the last couple minutes?
Absolutely. So with my passion for public speaking, my love for personal development, my life lessons, you've heard me share my stories with Hilary today. I've had a lot of inner conversations. So I've done a lot of deep dives in neuroscience and NLP and in life coaching and understanding how our self-talk works. And if I can help you shift that inner critic into being the best cheerleader for yourself, I believe that makes you become unstoppable. So I've created a PDF, positive self-talk guide. I call it "Don't Say That, Say This." So it's a PDF of a lot of the common phrases that we say to ourselves, from things like "I'm stressed," "I'm overwhelmed," "I'm not ready," to the positive side of reframing, because it's reframing those things. And the more we practice that, we're actually strengthening that positive identity, and that compounds and becomes and helps us to become more and more unstoppable. So it's rewriteyourselftalk.com, and that will get you that free PDF. And I hope it'll be a fantastic tool for you.
Great. And then if they want to reach you, to book you, how would they find you?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/the G3 Mastermind. And I do have a free online community. It is for women only. So sorry, guys. And you can go to G3, that's G, the number 3, mastermind.com. And that will drop you right into the community. And that will share with you, more daily ways of, self-reflection, so that you can, stop being the reactor and really shift into being the creator.
Awesome. All right. And then what would you like to leave people with? If you had your way and the world came out the way you wanted to in the next 5 years, in a minute or less, what would the world look like?
Oh gosh. Well, I would hope that you would look in the mirror and love yourself. If you
Mhm.
can see yourself eye to eye and say your name and follow it with the words, "I love you," and feel it, that's really shifting from a reactor to a creator. And when you do that, and day in and not in a vanity way, but human to human, human to yourself, can you love yourself? And Lee is spelled Ly. And so that I always say you can think differently, or you can love yourself and remember who you're meant to be and be a real creator out in the world and make that difference. And I see you and I celebrate you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Jenny, for introducing ourselves. And don't forget to
Yes.
reach out and get all that free stuff and connect with Lee. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Hilary.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for watching this episode. I started getting real with Hilary when I discovered that I was a people-pleasing, pleasant phony and wanted to be more of my real self. We can grow together if you will like the show, subscribe to my channel, and share this episode with your friends and family so that we can have a world that's more real.